It's a day or so, maybe two, after our freeze that we had. But it's still been cold at night, but it's supposed to get back up in the 60s and even in the 80s before too awfully long. I see a cardinal over there, but I guess he must have moved, so I didn't get to get him for you. But I was going to show you. Maybe he'll come back. I saw him flitting. There he is. But I was going to show you what died and what didn't, because some things died and some things did not die. So, remember how pretty this was? Well, one thing is still pretty in it. I actually covered this plant here, and it still kind of got bit a little bit, but it's not so bad. This is one of those beautiful red head coleus, this one right here. No more red. There's a lot of things that are no more. But I knew that was going to happen, and as much as I hate it, I'm also ready for it. I'm ready for it to go ahead now, because there's just so much else to do now, and I couldn't do it and take care of this garden too. I want to cook for my sister's big family Thanksgiving reunion, and just so much to do, and it'll be wonderful. It'll be wonderful. It was wonderful today, actually, to have a day without having to come out and water or struggle bringing stuff in. Lots of stuff died in that pot there, but I think it's going to still be enjoyable for the rest of the fall, even though a lot of it did die out. This doesn't look anything like what it did look like, but nor does that one back there. So I just wanted to give you a little idea of why I was fretting about it, because I knew it was going to happen. Oh look, I can't believe that this little impatient right here actually semi-survived. Isn't that awesome? Surprising to me. I didn't think it would. I think it did look kind of like this little coleus right here. Pretty much gone. But actually several of the impatiens, I'm just now realizing that several of the impatiens actually made it through. So, oh, and look, the mum is beginning to bloom. This is a daisy mum. I forgot to take this geranium out, but it looks like it made it through. I will want to take that out and try to save it. Sometimes I can get them just to the root to live in just in a paper sack, and it'll dry out, and then the root will come back when you put it in the ground and it gets its first rains. Not always, though. Sometimes you try that and all you do is put a dead stick in the ground, but it's worth a try. Oh, look at this beautiful black sweet potato vine. Not so beautiful anymore. This pretty daisy mum opened up some more. My zinnies are looking terrible. First of all, they look scorched because of the heat, and then the next thing they get is this frost and freeze. So, but I'm going to come out and take all these out anyway, as I mentioned before. I'm going to save these for seed, and I'm going to pull those little scraggly looking foliage out. And as I say that, I'm looking at these right here. There's some more buds that we'll probably put on another bloom if we get enough pretty weather for them to do so, which I have no idea if we will or not. I've only seen a 10-day forecast, and but it did say in the 60s and in the 80s again. So this is a pretty little profusion zinnies here. And I love the Dusty Miller because there's just not a color that doesn't play off it. and make it more beautiful. You can see that purple back there, put it up against the Dusty Miller, and it just shines. There's really, I have not found one color that doesn't shine more when it's beside a Dusty Miller. It just, the colors play off of it so beautifully. And some of these coleus that it just nipped them just terribly. I think if I clip all that back, which I'm not sure that I'll have time, or if I'll even want to take the time to do that, because I just have so much else that needs to be done. And the next freeze we have, anyway, not first, we've already had that, but the next freeze we get would get it. So I may just let it go, but if I knew we'd have time, I would try it, because it's just so pretty. Look at these gazanias. They are so perfect for putting in a coconut liner pot like this. If you want to put more than just in the rim of the pot, but if you want to go down the sides of the pot and poke you some holes and plant some little things in there, they're the most perfect thing I've found, because they don't get out really big, and yet they're so bright and pretty. If I put them in the ground, I rarely see them unless I'm just looking down, but here when you put them up like this, they just draw your attention and just let you know how beautiful they are. What a gorgeous little plant this was. This was one of the Kong coleus. Oh gosh, I hate to lose that, but and you can see it's not totally all dead, but it probably, I don't know if I could even make it survive to bring it in. I'm not that good at house plants, and it's just, I don't know if I even have room in the house after bringing what I did bring in. There's not much room at all left in there anywhere, but I see it did not get this pipe vine, but it is a non-hardy for our area. I did look that up, and I did put a couple of little clippings, I think 3 actually, in a glass, and I'll see if I can save it for next year. I think I've tried that before and really didn't quite get it to stay, but it's always worth a try, knowing that you could get it. And there was one over here on this side that I totally forgot to bring in. I didn't see it. I didn't think of it. It was totally hidden anyway by this. This is a tomato shoe geranium, or however you call it, the citronella. I really like that, and I did clip some of it to save, but look down here behind it what this is. That is a panda plant, and it blooms, actually I'll take that in, and it blooms inside in the winter, and it has the prettiest little black and white bloom like the eyes around a panda. So grateful it didn't go ahead and kill it. I didn't realize I had left it out here, although I do realize that when I start bringing it in, there's just so much. I knew I might have missed something, but I certainly tried not to. It didn't really nip this Swedish ivy that much either. I might need to save that. I did take the one that I had over here in this empty spot now, but I had one there, and I did take it in. It already looks not good. It doesn't look good at all. It's turning yellow, leaves are dropping, and it just doesn't look good. But if you can save any little part of it alive and put it outside in the spring, it will just realize, hey, I'm back home, and it'll get better. Just get better. This one I did cover. I covered this little plant with a plastic bag, and this one looks good, and this one looks great. I did notice that the one there in the back of it, though, that was that molten lava rose. if I can get a little close up of a little sprig of it, which it may not let me do. It's not focusing in good for me there, but it is a very pretty coleus. I also did get clippings of it. I don't know why it died when the other one didn't, but that's the way it goes. That's the way it went anyway. I also covered this one. I just wasn't ready to let it go yet either, but a lot of it looks pretty scraggly anyway now. Even though it was covered, a lot of it died out. These sweet potato vines, they just do not like the cold at all. I did put a few little sprigs of it in a glass and save it too. And I'll definitely want to come out here as soon as I can and get these. Well, these are the double profusion zinnies, and then these are, I think these are all the single profusion zinnies in orange, but I want both of those. And here's some more of the double. I'll definitely want those. Even this one right here, this one needs to be taken off right now so I can take it in and pull the bottom bunch of this will be a seed when you pull it out. Let's see if I can, I don't know if I can hold it and do it for you, but anyway, if you see, you just pull this bottom part of it out. Well, pull the whole thing off, but when you pull it out, see those little seeds right on the bottom right there? That's what you'll plant for next year. So I dropped the whole thing, but I picked it back up, and I'll save those seeds. Oh, there's another geranium that I forgot and didn't get in. I'll want to get it in too. Isn't that a pretty pink? So I did take the geranium out of this little swan pot, who has known better days, but I can't let anything go, so she's still pretty to me. But I put this pretty mum in there, and I like that. I think if it'll grow there, I'll probably just leave that there for next year. I may add a geranium too, because the geraniums have a longer bloom time and are therefore pretty longer. But this pretty little mum looks good there too, and it will even when it's just green, but I prefer a little color. Like that color. And I'm going to have to go around the front and get this. I see this, you can see this pretty orange chrysanthemum and that beautiful globe flower, the strawberry fields, and there's a rose. So I'm going to go around the front and get that rose from the front side. Before I do, I want to say this little zinnia right here is also a beauty. I'll take in for seed. So there's the front side of that rose. There's some more pretty mums, cushion mums. Look how this little pot of sedum or succulents has really filled out since we started it this spring, or actually late in the spring before my husband and his brother got this fixed for me. And I covered this little pot, so most everything did live in it. It's the first thing you see when you come out the back gate, so I just kind of wanted to see if maybe I could save that a little bit longer to enjoy it. This pretty mum over here is filling out nicely. And this one that I was talking to you when the winds came, you can see that the sweet potato vine and the pretty red coleus are out of it. That the garden can amaze you, because in amongst all the things that died back, look what I found. And then this little rose is blooming also today. So even though a lot of it died from our frosts or our cold weather, we didn't actually get frost because the wind was blowing so much it didn't stay on. But it did get very cold, and a lot of things went ahead and died. You can tell the little pots there look scraggly, and as well as this one. But there's still lots that's pretty too, and there's still a lot to be done to get it ready for winter. Quite a bit of stuff in this little pot was taken out from the cold. And then I did notice too that this pretty little Alternanthera kind of shriveled up, and it may kind of come out of it for a little while. Of course, it won't last through the real cold. It won't last much longer, but it was pretty while it was there. I still can't help but wish we would have had a longer season for it to be pretty and a nice weather, but it seems like we either get scorching weather or freezing weather, and it goes from one to the other with no pause or very little pause in between. And this was the chocolate covered cherry coleus. Drab and curled up right now, but it was surely a beauty when it was bright. Must be a good time of weather for roses, though. I noticed several of my roses are blooming. This is a Cinco de Mayo rose, I believe was the name of this one. And my beautiful little purple splash pepper is all curled up there too. It looks terrible, but we do have seeds, so hopefully I'll let those dry out and hopefully take those in and have more next year. And this little daisy mum is beginning to bloom. So there's still a lot of beauty out there in the garden. It hasn't all died back yet, even though a lot of it has. So it's just not as beautiful as it was, but it's still got lots of beauty, and just being outside and in nature is always a good feeling. Feel closer to the Lord, I think. Hi, it's Nancy, and I'm out here clipping off some of these pretty double perfusion zinnies. Aren't they pretty? For seed for next year, because even though I don't like it, I'm gonna have to tell the garden goodbye for this year, pretty much. Not all of it, but you know, the annuals are just kind of like the cherry on top. So when they're gone, it's still a pretty garden. It's good to be out here and enjoy, but there's no more cherry left. After the frost, some blooms will remain. After all of the blooms have passed away, some seed will remain. Seed will remain. After the frost has passed away, some bloom will remain. Some blooms will remain. After the blooms have all gone away, some seed will remain. Seed will remain. Oh, the beauty of the fall garden. This is not really what I had in mind, but doesn't that remind you of real life? I mean, really, the garden is such an example of life as it really can be. Sometimes it can be so gorgeous when that frost waits around and you have those beautiful fall colors mixed in with all the beautiful annual colors. But no, that's not what happened this time. This time we had these, there's what all the beautiful annuals look like. But mixed in amongst all the dead, you see things that the frost didn't get. Like this beautiful, and I also have to say the colors are brighter than ever. This cooler weather in the fall just and the time that they have in the sun, all the things work together to make that color just stand out more than it ever has before. That you get all this. This looks like me when I do my fingernails, and I'm trying to be beautiful, and you know, I'm just a little old fat woman, and my beauty has faded a bit. Not that I ever was any kind of raving beauty, but God, you know, in youth is beautiful. Youth is just beautiful. Did you ever see a baby that wasn't beautiful? And I know some people say, well, yeah. Well, I have not. I just think there's beauty in every child. A child that God created is the most beautiful thing. I mean, I don't know of anything more beautiful than a child, unless it's a kid, and by that I mean a little goat. Because if you ever watch those romping, you're going to put a smile on your face. But back to the garden. Look at these colors, these beautiful fall colors. I know there's dead all in there, and I know these are actually dying, or the foliage is dying. These are my hostas, so that root won't die unless the snails get it, which please Lord, don't let that happen. But these are, I love my hostas. This is one of my very favorites. It's just, I love this green, this bright yellow green, and then these have a little bit of yellow green. Right now they're yellow green just because they're going to that fall color, but they're all beautiful, and it's just so good to see them. The colors, the beautiful fall colors. Speaking of, this is my burning bush, which is turning a little bit, has a little bit of that pretty red in it, and there's a mum. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? I probably should get it out from behind that little seating area and put it where it can be seen more, just because right now it's at its most glorious state. And over here the flowering cabbages, which my cabbages haven't flowered any, and look, they're supposed to be big long stems, which my stems just laid down. I need to just have staked them and didn't. But look at that pretty long stem ornamental cabbage there. Isn't that beautiful? And then right here coming up is, these are the oh, now I can't think of them, but the bells of Ireland. These are the bells of Ireland that I had right here. I pulled those up, but these are from seed, which they will not make it. I wish they would. And I may try to bring one inside, but I probably won't. I'll probably, simply because my house is so full, I can barely walk around in it now. I have a small house, and I can't stand to let any of it just go without trying to save it. And these are actually poppies, so I'm hoping that they will live through the winter and come back out. That's a bloom bug right there, which I was hoping to kill that thing. Well, he got away, so he'll be back to kill another bloom. These beautiful tiny little forget-me-nots, aren't they so pretty? Look at the red salvia. It just really comes on about this time, and they say that it's really good for migrating hummingbirds, because it's one of the things they love, and it's in full bloom when they're beginning their migration. So I have several places of it, and it can get a little invasive, but this one is not that invasive, really. It hasn't proved to be in my garden. There was an annual one that I want to get rid of, but these are doing fine for me. And I'm going to go ahead and go around here. Of course, that used to be a pretty black sweet potato vine. I did get a few clippings of it, and they're in the window, and hopefully they'll be back next year. But there's a lot of stuff that at first glance in the garden you would say, well, the garden is gone. But if you just stay a little while and just start thinking of the blessings of the Lord and all of His favor, love, and just looking around, you see all kinds of beauty. Look at this little dianthus right there. It'll bloom profusely probably in the spring, but even in the fall it's got to go ahead and put on that one little bloom for me. I love marigolds, and they're beautiful for fall color. Look at this sedum, how it turned. The sedums surprised me with their beautiful fall color, because I would not have expected it from them, but they make a beautiful fall color. And these little rosettes are beginning to take over, and I think that would be great. Actually, I think those would be beautiful, just filling out this pot. Since they don't have any color other than the color they are, which that pretty blue, powder blue color is one of my favorites in the garden, but I think it would be pretty with some moss or something, rose moss, something that does also have a bloom in with that. In here I have one lone little mammoth deal still in bloom. The butterflies just ate on all the rest of it till it was practically gone. So I did pull that up, and I saved a few seeds though. There'll probably be enough drop. I won't really even have to plant any, but I'm not sure of that. So look at this pretty alyssum trailing down. Isn't that beautiful? And the pretty peppers. I've got to come out and get a few of these for seed too. I think my mother gave me my start of this. I'm sure she did. And if you'll notice, it turns both purple and red. It starts out purple and then turns into the red. And it's so pretty at either color. This is one of my favorite plants. I know I've told you, but this lime green, soft, it's called licorice plant. And so is this one a licorice plant, and it's called icicles. And I just love them both, and both those colors are favorites for me. This one I have a hard time getting it to grow, but in this pot, it loves this pot. I did it in this one last year, and I did it this year, and both times it just kept going when normally it's been just dying out for me. And you can tell it's got some raggedy looking in there with it, but for the most part it's beautiful, and I will want this in this pot again. And all the little zinnias are looking pretty scraggly, like these right here. I will want to save these for seed. These are the little container size zinnias that I just love, because I do use a lot of containers. I like to put my annuals in containers, most of them. I can kind of keep an eye out for them, and then I can bring some of them in with my house plants too. The coleus are one of the hardest things to let go, and they're one of the staples in my garden. Absolute staple, because for color they can't be beat. They don't have to bloom to be in color. They're always in color. Their foliage is their color. And then also, if things die out, and they will through the heat of the summer, or through something will inevitably die in your garden, and those coleus are the perfect thing to just break off a piece and stick it in rooting powder and then in the ground, and it'll just go ahead and root right where you put it. Fill that out and just be beautiful. There's a few times it doesn't do that, but that's usually only because of the heat. If you can find it a rainy day or a time when you can slip it in there and let it get its little root started, then it'll just go right on, even in the heat, once its root gets going good. This is another thing that was hard for me to see go, is this beautiful euphorbia, diamond frost euphorbia. I just love it when it's got that little crisp white floating over top of everything, filling everything out. But it didn't make it much through the frost that we had. Not too many of the annuals did make it, but a few of them, surprisingly to me, the impatiens, most of them, not all, but most of them made it through. The mums are so beautiful. This one's not very full, but just look at that pretty yellow daisy mum. Bright, pretty celosia still. Some of them are looking good and others are looking like they've pretty much lost out, like this one in here. You can see it when I go up. And I just noticed a pretty little mum right over here blooming too. Isn't that a pretty color on this mum? And then the bright yellow, which yellow is a favorite in the garden for me because it ties things together so well. If you put several mums together in a grouping and they don't have yellow, they just don't seem to blend that well usually. Sometimes they do, but with yellow, if you put a few yellow in between all of them, it just brings them all together. This one hasn't quite begun blooming yet. There's another one of those sedums that I was telling you about, how pretty a fall color that a sedum has. And then this is another mum right over here beside it, which is not looking very good right now. I actually transplanted this one this year from one in the back, but I think it will look really good there next year. I want to get this one filled out a little bit more. There's that beautiful rose from the back side. I guess I need to go around the front so you can see the front side of that. Look at that little bee is busy getting something out of that petunia. There's a few beautiful little bright zinnias and some yellow lantana still showing in this one. Some more of the pretty mums. I just noticed that even this little sedum has pretty fall color. I didn't remember that it did this. Isn't that pretty? And this one hasn't turned yet, but when this bright green turns, it's just a shocking, beautiful orange and pink color. And here's a little bit of this Texas red yucca still trying to bloom. And I'm going on around. There's that mum that I told you I transplanted. Here's some beautiful red strawberry fields in there, and then there's that pretty red rose that's blooming. Got a bud. It's going to try to bloom some more. And I was noticing that I have some pretty mums right through here. I forgot what color these were, that they're blooming and they're very pretty. You see a pale pink and then this bright, almost red, like a burnt red color. And then these pretty purple cushion mums, the ones behind it there that has the purple pink, are daisy mums, as well as the red. And then this is the cushion mum, and then right down here are some more daisy mums, and in front of those I'm not sure which plant this is, what color it is. I know it's a mum. I don't remember what color it is, so we'll find that out soon. And I'm thinking that I need to probably switch this one of these out and make it yellow. I'll see what color this one is first, because I don't remember, and I could look back in my pictures, whichever one. And I want to go ahead and switch one of those out and put yellow in there, because like I was saying, yellow just blends it and calls attention to it, and it's just a really wonderful color to blend other colors together. I'm still considering trying to get this spike out of there. There's at least 2 root there now, and it's so big and beautiful, but I just don't really have a place to put that in my house. You know, it's like finding a plant you love for outside. I just get it and I'll find a place for it somewhere. So I may end up trying to take that in. It just depends. I need to be in there looking at my recipes for Thanksgiving and beginning the cooking for my sister's Thanksgiving reunion. I usually make Christmas candies. My family loves Divinity. A few of us, you know, Divinity is just not fattening enough. We have to have the fudge, peanut butter chocolate fudge. So that's what my favorite is, of course. But I have some grandsons that are right in there with me, and my daughter is, if she's not dieting, which she sometimes is, so she's lost some weight recently, and she's so gorgeous. She was gorgeous before, but she's just really, I'm so proud of her. Honestly, I'm proud of both my girls. My oldest daughter has actually never had a weight problem. She may have thought she had, but she has not at all. She's always been, she's taller, so she's in wonderful proportion to her height. She's a beautiful girl, both of them are, and I'm proud of both of them. I was saying you have to look past all the stuff that died to see the beauty in the garden, and this side has definitely got a bunch of stuff that died out and it's not looking good at all. But look at this pretty little verbena. Look at this beautiful daisy mum here. Isn't that gorgeous? Right in the midst of all that other stuff. There it is. So I came out to the back and took a few pictures, and my battery quit. So I got out my recipes for the family reunion and took a look at them. And then I sat down right here and I took apart some zini seeds, like these right here. That's the ones that are spent. This is the ones I'm working on, and these are the ones I've already took apart and they're ready to go into seed. And these are my recipe books. And back to this. Isn't this so picturesque and beautiful? The sun was shining. It's overcast right now, but the sun was shining and it just lit up those leaves over there, and it's just so pretty. Look, I didn't realize this one had turned color so much. So even though the frost took away some color, it just looks like God gave back some more. So pretty. And I was beginning to say when I first started this about some of the flowers that you had to look through the ones that had died out on it, like maybe this little pot right here. If you can look in there and see all those little things that have died. how you can still see so much beauty there too, and how I was telling you that I was just an old woman, but actually I said a fat old woman, so I might as well tell it like it is. But if you ever wonder, because I used to think that when I was about 50 I could stop worrying about dieting and all that stuff and just enjoy eating what I wanted, but that never really happens. If you'd like to know, it does never happen. All that time you still want to be pretty, you still want to be presentable, even eye-catching, and you look for that beauty, like I said about doing my nails, which is one of my favorite things. I just love having 10 little extra accessories, so I play that up when I have time to, which is not always. Of course, I don't have much of nail after working in the garden, but no, you never stop, and it's wonderful that God can, allow some little bits of beauty to stay in the garden and to stay in our lives, and to know that beauty is much more than skin deep. It's much more than a certain size, even though, of course, everybody would love to be that perfect size and look so good in their clothes and wear the perfect size and all that. Everybody would prefer that, but it's just wonderful that God loves us just like we are, and that we matter to Him just like we are, and that He adds a little bit more beauty when some of the things that some beauty has gone away. Sometimes He adds just a little bit more beauty in a different way. Just look at this beautiful yellow colors on this crepe myrtle. And like I say, this one you can't tell quite so much right now, but when the sun is shining on it, this was pretty too. And this is a red bud, and the color is so pretty. And then of course all the mums that are blooming, everything's so pretty. The little bits that are left of the flower, even the annuals, because this pretty little trailing Dachandra, it is an annual. It won't live through a cold, real deep freeze. It did live through the frost though, and this one I actually covered it, and it helped it out, which really added to my little picturesque place to sit and just have this beauty to look out on. Isn't God good? Oh, this is the mum I started to show you when the battery went dead in the camera. Isn't that beautiful? It's called a quilled mum. If you'll look at it, sometimes it's called spoons because its little petals have like a spoon shape at the end of them. Isn't that a pretty color? I love that.